Yeah. Yay. Dirt. But yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of doing the video right now anyway, so yeah, what's going on, guys and gals? I'm Neko Fluttershy also, actually, if you want. Yeah, I'm here with a human. Yep. So, yeah, kind of like my last video, whenever that uploads. It might already be uploaded by the time this video gets uploaded. I don't know. I'm literally making this video after I got done making the last one. So, I don't know. But yeah, like, in the last video I was talking about random things. So I think this time I also want to talk about random things. But like last time I was kind of talking about like, what was it? Oh yeah. Well, I just made the video and I already forgot. My brain does not want to work sometimes. But yeah, like I was talking a little bit about like femboys and that sort of thing, and what my thoughts were on everything around like femboys and whatever, and some other things. But yeah, in this video I want to talk a little bit about like video games and that sort of thing. And like my overall thoughts on like certain topics in video games. Like I talked a little bit about like Resident Evil and how like I thought that 5 wasn't that good. Honestly, to me 5, yeah, like Resident Evil 5 I think is, I don't know if I'd put it, I don't know, it's around the bottom of like all the mainline games. We're not talking, you know, spin-offs like Revelations or Revelations 2 or like Umbrella Chronicles, that sort of thing, but like mainline entries. Like I think I'd put that either below, probably below 0, honestly. Like I did enjoy 0 a decent amount from what I played, but I've always found it more or less hard to play a little bit of the, mostly because the controls, more or less, of those kind of games. Like, the gameplay and the story is fine, but to me it's more or less the controls and some of the other things. And to me, the only good things about 5, in my personal opinion, were, like the scene where everyone fucking knows this one, where Chris punches a boulder, and I'm like, yes, this is the best part of the game because this is what everybody remembers from the game. And then Wesker, and I thought like Wesker was easily the best villain in any Resident Evil game, but like, if we're talking about the game's like controls, I think they were trying to go for a combination of some of the old school games with like 4, because, you know, when they made 5, Resident Evil 4 was easily, if not probably, the most successful game that they've ever made, and that's including like Street Fighter and all the other games that they've made in other franchises. So they were like, oh yeah, you know, we should definitely make a game that's similar to 5, or no, similar to 4, with like controls of the original. And even now I just couldn't really get into the controls even after like beating it. And I didn't even beat it legit because I didn't really feel like it, honestly. Because I have a jailbroken PS4 that I can run cheats on. So I can play games like Call of Duty Cold War or Resident Evil 5 or Minecraft or any game more or less of my choosing, and I can run cheats on that, like, you know, God mode, infinite health, you know, which is God mode, infinite ammo, infinite money, the ability to like no clip in certain areas. And so I'm like, yeah, that's how I'm gonna play it, because I don't want to fight the controls the whole time. But yeah, it's like, yeah, out of all the Resident Evil games, I think like 5 is easily the worst. I mean, it's tolerable, but it's not a game that I would be willing to play a whole lot, as opposed to like some of the other ones. But yeah, like, which is like your favorite Resident Evil? Oh yeah, like yeah, yeah. And some people are like, oh, well, Resident Evil 5 is not that bad of a game. I mean, it's decent. But also, yeah, but also some of the things I've seen and heard about the AI in that game, your partner, Sheva, it's more or less you're better off playing with someone else instead of having the AI do it, because I've heard a lot of people say that the AI in 5 is they will get you killed more than you kill yourself, or the enemies will kill you, because they will fail to save you. They will, yeah. Even Resident Evil 6 had better AI. And people are like, oh, 6 is the worst because it's not survival horror anymore. It doesn't always have to be survival horror. Like, there's a little bit of horror there. Like, a little bit with Leon's campaign, mostly. But, to me, I think 6 is probably my all-time favorite, solely because of how big it is. Like, you have Leon's campaign, you have Chris's campaign, you have Jake's and Ada's, and you could also play the game from Helena, Pierce, Sherry, and that's pretty much it. I don't really think Ada has a partner, because she doesn't need one, honestly. Like, she's more or less a spy. She can just do things herself, but like, you have all these different ways to play the game, all these different, difficulties and whatever. Good replayability, just trying to find all the, details and whatnot. And I'm just like, why do people hate this game outside of the fact that it's not what they claim to be survival horror? And yeah, it's a lot more action. It's like if Michael Bay made a Resident Evil game. Explosions and action all over the place. But that doesn't exactly make it a bad game. It's just not what a lot of people wanted. And so, I try to see a lot of games, even the ones that people hate a lot and have, like, really low review scores. And a lot of games, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see where they're coming from. But to me, it could be a whole lot worse. Like, the other day, I was watching, like, going back to watch reviews of people playing The Walking Dead Road to, or not Road to Survival, that's the mobile game. The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see your points, it's kind of pretty obvious they rushed this game out because, like, the first few seasons of the show that the game was based on, it wasn't based on the comics or anything else, but the show, besides Daryl and, oh fuck, whoa, Merle, almost forgot his name. It has them and their story, but, like, to me, I enjoy it because, it's a first-person shooter game. I love those. It's based on The Walking Dead. It's got probably my favorite character in it, Daryl. And what more could you... Yeah, and it's like... Yeah, Like, my second favorite would be, like, old school Negan before he more or less reformed. But, like, when we first saw him with his leather jacket and baseball bat, and I'm like, yes, this is easily one of... Yeah. I'm like, this is one of the best villains the show has ever had. And, yeah, the governor was, you know, okay. He was a fine enough villain for the show. Yeah. 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 And people are like, oh, well, what about, like, Terminus and the termites that, you know, invaded that area? I mean, they were tolerable, I guess. They didn't really do a whole lot with them. Yeah. 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 And I mean, a part of that I blame on the show at that point being as long as it was. It's like with any show. You know, a lot of shows, I mean, there are some exceptions, but there are a lot of shows that the longer you go on, the less good it gets. Because they're running out of ideas, or it's the same copy and paste saying, oh, hey, look, you know, Rick and the gang find a safe haven. Oh, some shit gets blown up because a villain, or whatever. Now they have to go relocate. Oh, another safe haven. Well, rinse and repeat for about however many seasons. Yeah. And they're also doing... Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any of 11, which is the last season, because I just haven't really cared too much. All that, you know, on, like, 11. Which, I mean, I still want to see it, but... I mean, I've already kind of seen the end anyway from just YouTube. Because I'm like, eh. I mean, I'm sure they'll clear shit up in some of the spin-offs, because... Yeah. But a part of me, like, a lot of shows, I have to wonder, like The Walking Dead or, like, My Little Pony in some cases. It's like, okay, you've already got a plan to make a spin-off or a new generation or a new show based off the property. And, you know, why not just make another season of something? Or... whatever until the new show comes out. Like, I don't know. And I never understood why they can't just make it, like, a 10th season. They go all around it. Like, My Little Pony had 9 seasons. The Walking Dead had 11. Like, 10 is good. 10 is fine. You know, I don't know, 9 or 11 is just too much numbers that, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they want to get... Yeah. Yeah, because I've always been a fan of, like, numbers. Like, even when I'm going on my TV to change the volume, it's always, like, 5s and 0s. And I'm just like... Yeah, and I'm just like... I do not like this 11. I'm gonna change it. The only instance I'm okay with when it comes to something like that is, like, if it's in something like, you know, Element 115 and Call of Duty Zombies, I'm fine with that because it's a thing for zombies and it's a song by Elena Sigmund. But, like, if it was just in a normal sense, I'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? I like, you know, I like 5s and 0s, but I'm not really big on, like, double or triple digit numbers that are the same. It's like 111 or just 11. I'm just like, what is this? Why is it here? It doesn't look right. Yeah. Like, some of them. Like, yeah. Like, to me, if it's something I can think about, like, for me, 666, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can understand. I don't mind that number because I can, you know, associate it with something. Or, like, 999 because one of my friends, DJ, which goes by Sonic Doom 999. I've known him since like 2015, so I'm like, oh, 999, that's the last, number or name or whatever of his username on like PSN or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. But normally I'm just like, what the fuck are these numbers? Why do they have to stay that way? Just go up or down by 1, maybe 10, and we're good. But yeah, and some people, like, kind of going back to like video game topics, it's like, I feel like everyone's bitching about everything. Like when the new Call of Duty comes out, oh, this game isn't as good as Black Ops 2. It's not going to be, because of multiple reasons. One, it's not Black Ops 2. That game was like 10 or 11 years old now. So, I mean, if you think that Black Ops 2 was the last good COD game, just play that. Which I do understand. Yeah, yeah, it's like, I hate Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Why the fuck did you buy it then? If you knew you weren't going to play it in the first place, or not play enough of it to warrant buying the game, or even like the ultimate special mega edition that costs more than your fucking life. Like, I have seen some special editions of games like, over $100, $200, and I'm like, no game is worth that. Especially in this day and age. Which, I can understand some games like Cyberpunk, because that game came out in a really horrible, buggy state, but at least you could still beat it from start to finish. Like, to me, I understand people complaining about game companies making games solely for profit, but that's how they've always done it. Since the beginning of video games, they've been looking for a way to monetize something that they created. And it's like, oh, even back on the Atari, they were trying to figure out, like, okay, so we have this new thing, this new idea, more or less a home console, trying to emulate like the arcade experience. How do we monetize that? How do we get this into people's homes, and this and that? And it's always been that way. But I also think, like, these companies like Activision, EA, Blizzard, they have several billions of dollars, and you're telling me they can't make a game that doesn't have bugs and glitches. Like, a lot of games I've played by these companies in modern times, like Vanguard, for example, it's bad when you play a solo game of zombies, right? It doesn't matter if it's online or offline. But when the game first came out, you pause the game, right? But it wouldn't stay paused. Like, yeah, it would still stay paused, but the zombies could still hit you. So there was no point. It was as if it was a multiplayer game. Even though you're in a solo match. Offline. And I'm like, really? You're telling me, if I'm on a high round and I have to take a shit, that I should just deal with it because the zombies could kill me. And even if that wasn't enough, if you stay idle for too long, the game kicks you out for inactivity. So you lose all your progress anyway. So I'm like, why do they do this in a solo offline mode? I understand if it's like a multiplayer match, you don't want to be a hindrance to other players, but like even games like Cold War, they don't do that. You can leave the game paused as long as you want, take a break from all the high rounds, and if you want to continue, a couple hours later, you can do that. But apparently not with Vanguard. And, they patched that out, like, I don't know, a couple months later, even after everyone's been bitching about it. But, after the new game comes out, which is the case of Modern Warfare 2, they more or less just completely forget about Vanguard's existence because they're trying to focus on that one. And I'm like, okay, what's the point in even making this game in the first place if you're going to abandon it about like a year later because every year a new COD game comes out? So it's like, oh yeah, this new Modern Warfare 3 game. Well, you're already going to abandon the Modern Warfare 2. Which I also find weird that they're still updating Cold War. Because I'm like, that game is like 2 or 3 games old by now. Why are they still updating? Yeah. Yeah. And I think another reason is because of the hacks that went on in that game. Because that game, a couple months ago, I think, had been exploited. And people were hacking and modding, and which I don't really mind if it's like, you know, it's kind of like sex. I don't really care about it if it's like a consensual thing. Like, you all consent to, you know, doing something. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's fine to me. Like when back in the day when me and DJ used to play like classic Modern Warfare, Black Ops 2. He'd always ask me, it's like, yeah, we can play this game normally if you want, or if you want, we can play with mods. And I'm like, I'm fine with mods. I've played this game legitimately for long enough. But, for multiple reasons, like, that's fine, to me anyway. But if you're using hacks and mods and exploits and cheats and whatever to, fuck over everybody else because you're not good at the game, or you feel like, if I'm not good at the game, nobody should be, or this is my lobby, yeah. But on top of that, like, they were pulling people's IP addresses from what I heard. They were trying to dox people, all from, like, Cold War. And I'm like, okay, that is definitely something that needs to be patched, because that's never a good thing to do that. Especially in a more modern game. But any game. And, like, I've had people back in Black Ops 2 try to, do something. And I'm like, damn. Like, do you really have no life that you're willing to, like, dox people or, leak their IP address or tell everybody, oh, hey, this person lives here, at this address, and here's what they're doing right now. And I'm like, no, just why? Yeah. And like, I don't know how or why people do this, but I've had people like on, I don't know, was it like Twitter? Then again, Twitter's a fucking cesspool of bullshit. But like, I've had people tell me, oh yeah, we know that you masturbate to this, this, and this because we've been, like, stalking you through your webcam. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, okay, first off, that is a huge invasion of privacy that you're lucky I don't... Yeah. Secondly, why are you telling me this? You do realize I could report you not only to the police and FBI and everybody else, but also to, like, Twitter itself. And I know that's not going to do anything, because they could, make a new account. Because that's how this is, social media. You could ban someone and from the website, and they'll make a new account. Like, no problem. But, to me, like, the idea of why would you admit that you're stalking me through my webcam. Why, like, and why are you watching me in the first place? Like, I am not, like, worth that. Like, I am not some person that is good looking enough to be watched by people. And some people are like, oh, well, I'm sure you'd look good when you're doing this, but I'm like, what? Like, why? And to me, yeah, and all it really is just like stalking people, and I'm like, no, like, that is not cool. I have no idea. I mean, it might have been, what was it? It might have been just some, like, mutual people that, like, I followed. Because some places online, mostly like Twitter, I think, last I checked, unless they did something, because Elon Musk is just fucking it all up. But there used to be, at least, and probably still is, a way that you can check an account's, like, follower. So everybody that follows that one person, you could see, like, who all is, like, following them, or who all is being followed, or whatever. And I think that's probably how. And, like, I didn't even add this person or anything, but I guess they were just like, oh yeah, time to fuck with some random people. I don't like... Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, first off, I don't know who the fuck you are, or why the fuck you're here. Just don't. Like, seriously. This is not cool. Secondly, like, why me? Out of all the people, like, why would you pick someone that doesn't look good? That's, like, hideous. And I'm just... I mean, it is kind of true, though. Even though, like, I've always had more or less, like, a problem with, like, how I looked and how I sounded. Even now, I'm just like, shit. I hate how I look. I hate how I sound. How I feel all the time, pretty much, is just like... That's my whole life. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea. Oh, wait, where are you? Okay, there we go. Yay. Food. But yeah, like, there are some weird people out there, especially in, like, the gaming space. And kind of going back to what I was talking about with, like, video games and how people bitch about everything. Like, I feel like it's a two-sided thing. People always want to blame, oh, well, it's the video game company's fault for putting out garbage and not giving us what we want, or whatever. But it's also, like, our fault, because we want this, we want that, we want this game to have everything. And, like, the more that game developers try to please us, the more they're failing, because you can't please everybody. And, like, so it's more or less a problem with both sides. And, like, yeah. And I mean, a good example is a game that just came out recently, Starfield. And people, like, a lot of people are losing their fucking minds over the fact of pronouns in the game. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, wait. What? You're Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh, how dare they try to, force the gay agenda on us? How dare they try to do this and that? And I'm like, what? I mean, Call of Duty, yeah. And I mean, it's not really hurting anybody. I mean, I didn't really hear a lot of backlash when Cyberpunk came out that you could be a trans person in that game or someone that's like non-binary or something. I didn't hear backlash when Cold War came out because in the campaign you could choose. I mean, yeah, it didn't really have a whole lot of effect on the gameplay too much, but in the campaign of Cold War you could basically choose, you know, male, female, or like other, pretty much like what they'd want you to go by, like he, she, or they, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, so you didn't bitch about Cold War when that came out because of that. You didn't bitch about Cyberpunk. Why this game? Why do you think that Bethesda is this way? And even when you look back at, as far as like Fallout 4, like on top of like certain aspects of making your character whatever, like the clothing options are not tied to a certain character. Like the male character in the game can wear dresses and skirts and things like that, and I'm like, okay, so you want to bitch about like, like Starfield and Bethesda, but what about this game? And I'm sure if I look deep and hard enough into like Skyrim, I could probably find something. But I don't do that because I'm not a fucking idiot. And that's the way I see things. Like, if you are going to bitch about a game just because they have something that you deem bad or something that's like, oh, I don't like this, I don't want this, then first off, don't buy the game. Secondly, shut the fuck up and let people that do play the game or that want to play the game enjoy it. Thirdly, not everything revolves around you. Alright? Who cares about your fucking feelings? Just shut up and enjoy the game. Not everything has to be about race or religion. Not everything has to be about like sexuality or pronouns or whatever. And if a game decides to have those things, if the developers decide, oh yeah, we should put this in, that's fine. I mean, I also didn't really hear a lot of people complaining too much on Animal Crossing New Horizons when that game came out. Like, not a lot of people were complaining too much. I mean, yeah, there were some. There's always going to be a few. But, like, there weren't a lot of people saying, oh, well, you can make your character non-binary, how dare they? But at the same time, they're bitching about Rosado in Fire Emblem Engage because they think that Rosado is trans, and on top of that, they think that he's like a, not only a stereotype, but also like transphobic or something. And I'm like, what? Okay, first off, don't you talk shit about my favorite character in that game. Don't talk about the femboys that way. Because if you do, I'm gonna kick your ass. Also, that's adorable. Yeah. Yeah, it's... Yeah. But yeah, some people, I'm just like, why do you spend your life that is already limited just bitching about everything because it's not how you want it? Like, seriously. And everyone's complaining about everything going woke. And I'm like, okay, first off, that term is stupid and way overused to the point that it doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, it may have meant something back when it was first a thing, But now people overuse that word to the point it means nothing. It's like, oh, this company's going this way, this video game is this way, you know, everything's going woke. No. It's just that times are changing and you don't fucking like it. That's all it really comes down to. Because, like, some people are complaining about, you know, oh, black people in video games, or, you know, women having a higher role in video games, or, you know, like, oh, so women are now working in the game industry when they should be cooking and cleaning and doing whatever I want. Like, no. Seriously, this isn't the fucking 50s or 60s. Get with the times or be forgotten. That's how I see it. Because, you know, people like that, they're not gonna fucking last long. You know, it's only the people, I think, that are open-minded and that, you know, agree with the changes that are being made. Like, oh, I think it's a good idea that Rosato is in the game to show that, you know, even femboys can fight. You know, even, you know, characters like Rosato can, you know, be a character and other things. Like, I also think it's a good idea to add more inclusivity in lots of games. And some people complain about, oh, well, they're only doing it because, you know, they feel like they have to have, you know, this, or people think they're racist or sexist or this. And I'm like, okay, that might be the case in some cases, but not every case. And even if it was an every case thing, just be glad they have it in the first place. Be glad that in a game where you can pick your own character and choose a character that more or less resembles you, or how you want to play as that character, that you have that option. Like, there's this game I played a couple months back, maybe even a year or so ago, Code Vein. And the customization options in that game is a game in itself. Like, you can spend hours just going through all the options of, you know, character design. And you can make your character look like however you want them to look. I actually made my character look like Monica almost. Or I tried to, at least. And I'm like, okay, here's how Monica would look in the, you know, Code Vein world. Or here's how I would look if I was this way in the world. And I think more people need more options. But, yeah, more diversity, more options, more everything. But at the same time, I'm like, as long as it doesn't take away from, like, the gameplay. Because there are some games where it's like, they focus solely on, you know, trying to please everybody so people don't think that they're racist or sexist or whatever. But the gameplay kind of suffers because of it, because they don't, like, make the gameplay. Like, to me, I would make the gameplay first and revolve the characters or character creation or whatever around that. Like, Cyberpunk, even when the game came out in a buggy state and really fucked up state, at least that game had, like, decent gameplay with, at the time, a decent character creation system. And when you're in-game, a really good character customization system. You know, where you can make your character look a certain way. And I'm like, this is... I mean, while the game was buggy and glitchy and whatever, this is more or less how you make a game, you know, balance between, you know, being more inclusive and the overall gameplay functionality of it. Just a shame that the game was buggy and glitchy when it came out, but that's a lot of game companies now. Which is sad because, like, back in the PS2 days and GameCube days, we didn't have this problem. Because there were no day one updates, there were no, you know, patches or bugs that could be fixed. Basically, it was an incentive to make a good game. Otherwise, your company would be known as the company that makes shitty games. Like, oh yeah, this company makes bad games. But like, on the PS2 we had such classics like God of War and other games, which, you know, yeah, we still have now, but the games that are being made for these consoles, the quality isn't there. Because everybody is money hungry. And they all have this mentality, oh, well, you know, a bunch of people are going to buy this game anyway, so who cares what the quality is? And to me, I'm just like, there's only a certain amount of times where you can fuck over your consumers before they just give up. Before they say, you know what, we're tired of you making games that, you know, are bad, that are buggy, that are glitchy, that don't put a lot of effort into them, when like 10 or so years ago you made one of the best games of all time, you know. And it's even gone as far as like Halo, because Halo Infinite, like, while I enjoyed the campaign, what little I played of it, like, you have to admit, there was a lot of things missing that made Halo, Halo. And it's not just about Master Chief going around and killing aliens and things like that, but there's more to it than that. That made the game feel Halo. And I'm just like, yeah, Halo, like, 4 was probably the best one. And some people are like, oh, Halo 4 sucks. I'm like, you suck. But nah, like, honestly, I respect people's opinions, but I'm just like, okay. Like, I get it, you may not really think 4 is great, especially after what everyone considers, like, a masterpiece of 3. But, like, Halo 4 was the first Halo game I actually played and beaten. So, like, I have memories of that game. Sure, it was, like, back in my high school days, and I was late to the Xbox party, but I was always a Nintendo person or a Sony person. I never owned an Xbox until, like, a couple of years ago, when I was still in high school. But I knew that people were just hating on, like, Halo because, oh, it's not 3. Doesn't have to be, you know? And another thing I'll never understand is people that hate games because they're popular. It's like, oh, Minecraft sucks ass, it's a bad game. No. I mean, you may not like the game, but it's not bad. It may not be your style of game, but it doesn't, like, suck. It's actually, and there's a reason why this game is as popular as it is. There's a reason why this game is, I think, the highest selling game of all time. And which is saying something, because like Tetris and Super Mario Brothers, Wii Sports, all those games were high up there, but then Minecraft just blew everything up, and even today people are still buying the game. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason why Minecraft is as popular as it is. It's because no one's ever really seen a game like this before. And the same thing as like Fortnite, you know, when that game came out. And yeah, you had PUBG, but PUBG was like the only one. And then, or the only big one. There might have been a few smaller, like, Battle Royale games, but, you know, the biggest one being, you know, PUBG. And so Fortnite came out, and people lost their minds over that because, oh my god, it's basically PUBG, but better because A, it's free to play, and B, It's actually good. Yeah, I mean, I played PUBG once. It's okay. I mean, Fortnite's way better, but eh. But yeah, like people got pissed off because I guess it got too popular. When Doki Doki Literature Club came out, people are like, "Oh, what's the point? You know, why do people love this game?" And I mean, you know, it's just a visual novel. How could anybody like this game? I mean, yeah, it's a visual novel, but it's also a horror game, you know, in disguise. And you know, I mean, first off, it's got really hot girls. Monica being the most bestest, awesomest girl. But you know, you had other characters like Yuri, Sayori, Natsuki, and you wanted to know the story of, you know, what was going on. And you know, as the game went on, it kept you hooked with things that would happen, or you know, learning about, okay, so they kill off one of the main characters. How do you progress from this? And so it keeps you playing, which I think any good game should, you know, keep you playing, because, you know, if you don't, then what's the point at that point? You want a game that people will come back to. Not just, oh, I beat the game once and I'm done forever. But a game that, you know, you can always come back to. Even after you know the story, how it ends, how it begins. Because that's how DDLC was. And then, you know, people are complaining about Happy Wheels and Slender. And I'm like, well, there's a reason why, like, Happy Wheels became as popular as it was. Not just because people like Tobuscus or Jacksepticeye were playing it, which helped it, but the amount of user-created content. That's what kept the game going. That's what people enjoy about it. That, and it's just fun watching people die, you know, creating, well, not really creating characters, although a certain amount of characters, but, you know, taking a character and seeing how bad you can destroy them. And I'm just like, you people need to calm down. Now, I've never really made this kind of a secret, but I never really cared for Undertale, honestly, too much. I mean, it's an okay game, but I don't really think it's, like, the game that, you know, people would keep, you know, doing and talking about as much as it is, because, yeah. I mean, yeah, see ya. Also, thanks for being in my video and just hanging out. Yay. So that was my friend. And also, I apologize for talking most of it. I kind of wanted her to talk more about just whatever, but I just kind of, you know, whenever I get onto a subject I'm just really passionate about, I just won't shut up about it. But yeah. But yeah, I never really thought of, like, Undertale to be a game that really kind of deserved all the praise that I got, in my opinion. I mean, it's a fine enough game. I'm not going to deny that it's a decent game. I just think people were going crazy over it, for whatever. And it's kind of the same thing with Five Nights at Freddy's. The only good Five Nights at Freddy's game was Security Breach, because it was more open world. Like, you could actually explore the area instead of being stuck in one room for however long, or in the case of Sister Location, just, I don't know, being confined to certain spots with not a lot of freedom. I don't know. I just kind of thought that was kind of dumb. And after a while, I mean, I kind of got the idea of what they were going for. You know, what Scott was going for. It's like, oh yeah, I want to make a game where people feel like, you know, they're helpless. They're stuck in this one room while animatronics try to kill them or capture them, so that they can kill them, or whatever. So we're not gonna have it where you can explore the area. We're just gonna have it where you're stuck in this one room, and you have the power. You have to close the doors and whatever, and just keep, you know, doing this for the whole game. And I get that, but after a while it gets boring, even after like the second or third, fourth game. And I mean, after a while, some of the jump scares stop being, you know, effective. It's like, oh, here's Springtrap, here it comes. And it's like, I don't know, the jump scare for Springtrap is just kind of hilarious in a way. Like, here is this big, bad, evil guy, you know, Afton, stuck in his own creation, pretty much, because he created the Springlock suits. And so he gets stuck inside his own suit. I've heard a lot of people say he's alive still, but I've also heard he's dead, so I don't care if he's dead or alive. The fact of the matter is, he's stuck in his own suit. You know, the Springlock failure got to him, and, you know, now he's haunting more or less a place, an attraction, and his jump scare is basically just, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm gonna come in now. Ah. Like, I've always thought that kind of jump scare was kind of like, you know, you see him, and he just walks to you. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm gonna kill you now. And he does. Which I think is kind of a hilarious way to die. You're like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill you now. Alright. But yeah. And honestly, the lore is really intense. Not just from, like, Matt Pat's side of things with his Game 3 videos, but the actual lore of it. I mean, the ending cutscene in... what was it? The pizza making... No. The pizzeria simulator? Or whatever it was called. The one where you basically make your own pizzeria. The ending to that one, the true ending, where the guy is basically trying to end it all the nightmares, and, you know, it's basically something about, you know, for most of you, your souls will be free and whatever, but for one of you, the biggest pit of hell awaits, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. You know, that one. And the building gets burned down and whatnot. Like, that was a really, I think, a solid way to end the franchise. Like, lore-wise. They could keep doing spin-offs, and they could keep doing, like, more games, but, like, lore-wise, that should have been how it ended. And then they did some other things, and then, well, Security Breach, and then Security Breach Ruin DLC. Now they're making the sequel to Sister Location, I think. Or no, was it VR? Help Wanted. Yeah, I think it was Help Wanted. They're making a sequel to. I mean, it's either Sister Location or Help Wanted. I don't follow Five Nights at Freddy's, so, like, all that well. I mean, lore-wise, I try to keep up with it because it's just so fascinating. And I want to see what they bring to the table for the movie. So, yeah. But anyways, that's probably going to be it for this video. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about more, like, video game stuff, or video game-oriented stuff, in this video, because, holy fuck, I have a lot to say. This Neko princess femboy cat creature thing, I still don't know what the fuck I am half the time. All I know is I am a gender-fluid, non-binary Neko princess femboy. And I meow this message. Mew. Nya. Meow. Meow mew mew mew. Nya mew. Meow. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. I'll probably do another one soon. I just gotta think of some... I don't know. I don't want these videos to be like a repeat. So, like, the third video being like, oh, let's talk about femboys and whatever, because I have no idea to talk about. But I actually want to have some, like, different discussions that I think people should have. But yeah. Also, thank you to my friend, Peachy Nova, for stopping by in this video and chatting a little bit. But yeah. Just peace up, people, and bro hoof. Mew. That belch tasted like a Hot Pocket. Now I want more Hot Pockets. Maybe some cereal. I kind of want to get some Crunch right now, because I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Food.